Everybody.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's March 29th. This is the Audit Committee meeting of the Local Development Corporation. Here present are Anne Marie Scheit, Marty Callahan, Mitch Pally, Fred Braun. I don't see other members on the Zoom yet, but we have a quorum and we're okay to proceed. Lori?
Okay, I want to introduce everybody to our external auditors from PK O'Connor Davies. We have Jeff DeVoli, who's been our partner on the account for a number of years, and also Elizabeth Casey from PK O'Connor Davies.
And Octavio's.
And Octavio Sharon
He's been asked to move.
is
over.
joining us also. From there, I guess, Jeff, if you want to go through your reports.
Sure. LDC, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
I would just interrupt for a minute and say that Jeff is back after having properly rotated off for a year.
Yes,
Oh,
correct.
Correct. Thank you. Can I share my screen? Is it
Yes.
okay?
Sure.
Okay. I just want to make sure I picked the right one. If you see a picture of my wife drinking wine in a bathtub, that's the wrong one. Okay. Do we have the right one here?
We're recording.
Shh, don't tell her. Don't tell her. If I pull that. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. I know we have a busy, you have a busy agenda and we have a quick timetable, so I'll go as quickly as possible. This is the presentation for the audit of the year ended 12/31/2022. Status of the audit. We are done with the audit. We'll go through some financial highlights, some required communications, and some things that are coming down the pike. The audit field work is done. It is all done pending this meeting. We have a management letter that'll be signed at sometime today if God is with us to issue this report. We have done the internal QCR in the reports. Both reports, to speak about those just generally, is that they have been through QCR. There are some minor geographical and typographical issues that have been fixed in the version that we have, and that will be issued upon completion of those and acceptance of the management rep letter. We are going to issue an unmodified opinion, which means that it's a clean audit report, which means it's in compliance with generally accepted auditing standards and generally accepted accounting principles. Just some financial highlights. Operating revenues for the LDC, $14,656, compared to the prior year, increased by $9,656. Operating expenses were $5,400 greater than the prior year to $90,000. And interest income, due to the to cash now yielding something as opposed to prior years, interest income increased by $3,200 to $4,700, and net position, which is the net result for the year, increased by $71,000 to $465,000. Unrestricted net cash decreased to $469,000 by $69,000 for the year. Just some required communications. These are responsibilities of us. We've been through this many times. I will leave you the gory details out, but our responsibility as your auditor is to form an opinion on and express an opinion on the financial statements, obtain reasonable assurance about the financial statements being free of material misstatements, accumulating and communicating uncorrected and misstatements, and communicating those to you as those charged with governance, maintain professional skepticism, and communicating all related matters to you. RSI, which is the management discussion analysis, is unaudited, including the financial statements. Responsibilities of the charged with governance. You've all been through this before. You know what your responsibilities are: fair presentation of financial statements, maintaining effective internal control, complying with laws and regs, providing us with all the documents necessary to complete our audit, evaluate if there are any conditions or events considered in the aggregate that raise substantial doubt about the entity's ability to continue as a going concern, setting the proper tone at the top, designing and implementing policies and controls to detect fraud and prevent fraud. We look at qualitative aspects of the audit in various categories. One is accounting policies. We noted no transactions entered into by the corporation during the year for which there is a lack of authoritative guidance or consensus. We looked at significant unusual transactions. Again, no matters have come to our attention that require us to communicate with about unusual significant transactions. Every financial statements include estimates about estimates and management's judgments to record. And we have determined that there are no accounting estimates that are particularly sensitive or significant to the corporation's financial statements. And I apologize about that ringing in the background. Financial disclosures, we have included all financial disclosures. They're all neutral, consistent, and clear. There is no concern, in our opinion, in your opinion, that the entity will continue to be a going concern for 12 months after the balance sheet date and the issuance of the financial statements. And we've encountered no significant difficulties in dealing with management during our audit. We were required to accumulate corrected and uncorrected misstatements. We did not identify any misstatements. We had no disagreements with management. As I said earlier, management representation letter will be issued sometime today so that we can issue our report sometime today. Beth and Octavio will send that over. Beth and Octavio, if that has not been sent already.
No, it's ready, but it has not been sent. We were waiting till after this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Beth. We're required to confirm that we are independent as it relates to the entity and significant issues discussed with management prior to retention. There were no discussions that occurred in normal course of professional relationship in our responses that were conditioned upon our retention as your auditors. This is, I'm not going to go through this, but this is the newest GASB that's coming down the pike, GASB 96. So that's all I have on the LDC. Any questions?
Any questions of the auditors?
No.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept their report.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Before we adjourn this meeting, I need a motion to accept the minutes of our meeting of November 16th.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting of the Audit Committee of the Local Development Corporation?
So moved.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are closed. We will now open the Audit Committee meeting of the Industrial Development Agency. This is Wednesday, March 29th. The following members are present: Anne Marie Scheit, Marty Callahan, Mitch Pally, and Fred Braun. We have a quorum. Jeff, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Same qualifier if I get the proper screen. Do we have the proper, do I have the proper screen up?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Nailed it. Okay, so this is the audit report and the report to those charged with governance, which is the audit committee for the December 31st, 2022 audit. We are in the process of completing the audit. All significant audit steps have been completed. Status of the audit is complete. Again, waiting for the rep letter for the IDA, should be issued sometime today to you. And then we'll issue our report after receipt of that. We anticipate that we will be issuing unmodified or clean opinion on the financial statements of the IDA. Some financial highlights: 2022 operating revenues total 1.7, which were 1.4 revenue generated from closings. There was 6 closings in the current year, 3 that generated revenue from a prior year on closed projects. That differed from 2021 when there were a total of 29 projects closed. Operating expenses for the year total $1.2 million, a decrease of $83,000 from 2021. Interest income was $67,000, $53,000 more than the prior year. Net position increased. The net result of the year was $566,000 or $6.7 million at 12/31/22. And of the net position, 99.5% or 6.7 is in the unrestricted category. And there is a small portion that is in the unrestricted category for net investment in capital assets. During 2022, there was a new GASB issue, GASB 87, which replaced FASB 13, which had to do with leases. So this year we have a lease that is now on the balance sheet. It relates to the lease that the IDA has with the town of Brookhaven for facilities. Unrestricted cash increased by $565,000 to $7.9 million. And the OPEB, the other post-employment benefit liability, was $636,000 at December 31st, 2022, which decreased by $225,000. And the reason that the decrease was because there was an increase in the discount rate. So as the discount rate increases, the net result decreases because you got to put that much less money away to get a future result. So that resulted in a decrease in the OPEB liability for the year.
It's important to note that liability, the OPEB liability, same with the net pension, is very volatile based on changes with the discount rate, which you don't have any control over. So I'll just point that out. So because you may see, significant swings from year to year.
Yeah, so if you think about what the effect on the discount rate is, if you needed $1 million in the future with a discount rate of 0, you needed to put $1 million away today. If the discount rate was, let's just say 6, and you needed $1 million in the future, you would have to put less away today to achieve that $1 million result in the future, because there would be yield that would be generated by the increase in the discount rate. Responsibilities, here are our responsibilities as your auditor: forming and expressing an opinion on the financial statements, obtaining reasonable assurance about the financial statements, whether to be free of material misstatements, whether caused by error or fraud, accumulating and communicating uncorrected misstatements to you, those charged with governance, maintaining professional skepticism. Other supplementary information, again, which includes the OPEB and other disclosures that are in the financial statements. We applied certain limited procedures to the RSI in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America, which include inquiries of management about the methods of preparing and the information and comparing it to the information for consistency with managers' responses. We do not express an opinion on that information because the limited procedures that we do not provide us with sufficient evidence to express an opinion on that. Responsibilities, your responsibility as management and those charged with governance is the fair presentation of financial statements, selecting appropriate accounting policies, maintaining and establishing effective internal controls, complying with laws, regs, and grants and contracts, and providing us, your auditors, with financial records so that we can effectively perform the audit. Setting the proper tone at the top, designing and implementing policies and controls to prevent and detect fraud. During our audit, we look at qualitative aspects in various categories, accounting policies. As we state here, the new policy for GASB 87 was implemented in the current year. So now there is a right to use asset and a right and a liability that is included in the financial statements that represents the present value of the lease stream of the lease that you have with the town of Brookhaven for office space. We noted no transactions entered into during the year that lack authoritative guidance or consensus, and all significant transactions have been recognized in the financial statement in the proper period. No matters have come to our attention that require us to inform you about methods used to account for significant unusual transactions, except for the aforementioned GASB 87. Management's judgment and accounting estimates are critical in the financial statements. The major one included in these financial statements have to do with the assumptions related to OPEB and the pension liability, depreciable lives, and estimates for long-term liabilities, including compensated absences and lease liabilities. Financial statement disclosures are neutral, consistent, and clear. We have determined, as along with you, that there is no going concern, that the financial statements are prepared in accordance with a going concern basis, and that the entity will exist as a going concern for 12 months after the issuance of the financial statements. We encountered no significant difficulties in dealing with management and completing the audit, and we thank Fred, and we thank Lisa, and we thank Lori, and we thank Jocelyn for their cooperation during the audit. There are no uncorrected or corrected financial statements. Financial statements are fully disclosed of all the information from the books and records of the IDA. We have no disagreements with management. We will again receive a representation letter prior to us issuing our financial statements. We are independent as it relates to the IDA, and there were no issues contingent upon us being hired as your auditors. Any questions?
Yeah.
Are there any questions from the board?
No.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff.
Jeff,
Thank
do we
you.
need to mention the cash and investment report, the compliance report?
Yeah, there are other reports that will be issued as well. We are in the process of issuing those. I think they're all ready to go. Lori and Lisa have seen drafts of those, correct?
Mhm.
So we'll be issuing those on behalf of both the IDA and the LDC as well.
All right, I thank you very much. I need a resolution to accept the report of the auditors.
So move.
The second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I also need a resolution, excuse me, to accept the minutes of our meeting of November 16th.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now I need a motion to close the meeting of the Audit Committee of the Industrial Development Agency.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. All right.
Again,
you.
thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks
Jeff.
so much. It
Have a
was
good one.
wonderful working with you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Sorry we couldn't get you in.
That's okay.
Technical problem, we were trying.
All right.
Take care. Have a good day.
Thank you.
We will now open the regularly scheduled meeting of the Local Development Corporation of the Town of Brookhaven. It is Wednesday, March 29th. The following members are present: Anne Marie Scheit, Marty Callahan, Mitch Pally, and Fred Braun. The quorum is present. I need a motion to accept the minutes of our meeting of January 11th.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Lori, it's all yours.
Okay, we recently had a meeting with our audit committee where the external auditors presented our financial statements and their audit thereof, and the audit committee accepted that report. So does the board need to vote further, or that's?
sorry.
On the audit.
We need a resolution to accept the recommendation of the 12/31/22 financial statement as the audit committee recommended.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
We also need a resolution to authorize management to file that report with Paris.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
I want to be there.
Opposed? Okay.
Okay, so going back to my report, I also want to report on, included in your packages, we've given you excerpts from the Paris, the Public Authority reporting, the annual report, the investment report, the certified audit report, and the procurement reports. All are due March 31st to be filed with the ABO, including our audit. So is there any questions on any of these reports?
So you're ready to go.
They're ready to go. Nothing's new or different from
Nothing's new,
year
okay.
to year,
There you go,
so I
okay.
just want to point out,
So we're filing within a timely fashion.
filing within a timely fashion.
Okay.
Also, two other items I want to mention. We were Flushing, our bank reached out to us with a letter, and it's
I'm
also.
sorry, did we get a resolution to approve entering Paris?
Yes.
with Fred.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
Kind
you
of-
went to go get the door.
Okay,
didn't-
Yes, sorry.
Okay, sorry.
I think so.
we
did a-
sneaked it in.
We did a
Well,
whole
okay,
bunch of
good.
resolutions.
Because we need a resolution approving
Yes,
Paris.
it's approving us to file the audit with Paris.
And Paris.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you, sorry.
All good.
So we received communication from Flushing Bank, just solidifying their position in the market, that they're not susceptible to anything that happened recently
Oh.
in the banking community. So that letter has been included there for you. Also, we did receive notification from Flushing Bank that they're increasing the interest rate on our investment account to 3.75. One of the items that Flushing had asked, and we are presenting for review and approval, is that we allow the LDC to use letter of credit collateral that is secured by the Federal Home Loan Bank. It's similar to the collateral situation that we have at the IDA. They want us to do that also for the LDC because it gives them more room to give us better rates. And again, it's an allowable, accepted alternative with New York State as collateral. So that resolution will be, or is
We can
being,
do it right
is
now.
being presented now. So,
Fred, how do you feel about the bank?
Well, we're in
Financial.
good shape. I mean, to the extent that our deposits, and they are in excess of the FDIC insurance in both the IDA and the LDC, is backed up either by liquid collateral, government collateral, or a letter of credit issued by the Home Loan Bank. The auditors have reviewed the IDA as well as the LDC, and we're fine.
The bank though, the bank is, I mean,
Bank
I know.
appears to be okay.
Then,
Yeah.
that's up your alley.
It's unfortunate the way things.
yeah,
I think the more you hear about the West Coast Bank, I mean, they were on the radar of the FDIC or the Federal Reserve or whoever it was, but nobody did anything. I
Correct.
mean, management didn't do what they were supposed to do, and there was no action taken by the authorities to do anything about it. It's unfortunate.
Just let it keep going.
another item that I did want to, go ahead.
We need to do the resolution.
Yes.
This time I was paying attention.
Sorry, all right. I didn't mean to, I just want to ask Fred's opinion of the bank. that's all.
Resolution is that in addition to collateral, liquid collateral, that we would accept a letter of credit from the Federal Home Loan Bank.
For
So
the
moved.
LGC.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Another item that I did want to mention is the lease accounting has changed the way that rental agreements are handled on the IDA end, which also we have a shared intermunicipal agreement with the LDC. We're talking about the LDC now, and the LDC was getting allocated a piece of the rent. That doesn't really work in this new scenario, and based on our projections and what's needed to continue with the LDC, we're looking to amend the intermunicipal agreement to take out the rent allocation. So there is a resolution
To change it.
to change our intermunicipal agreement to update it to exclude the share allocation of rent.
So move.
Second,
Okay.
Second,
the reason, part of the reason for this too is the LDC does not have much in the way of income anymore. I mean, we're down to, I think, five, maybe 6 or 7 bonds that are outstanding. Now there's gonna get paid off.
Mhm.
Okay.
2 of their deals, I wouldn't be surprised if community hospital gets paid off at some point by Langone. So this makes sense from an accounting standpoint, and a fiscal responsibility standpoint.
And the last item I want to mention is, just as in the past, I've mentioned this, that all payroll taxes and related withholdings have been paid timely in accordance with federal and state guidelines. All regulatory reports have been filed in a timely fashion. Any questions on my report?
no?
Laura, you're just making us feel better, right? You don't really
Yes.
need to read that.
Yes, I did.
No, it's something I kind of.
I think she does.
No, it's
I think you
good
do,
to
right?
document that you're aware that we're doing everything.
I know you
fine.
need to say it, but at this point, you don't need to read the words anymore.
Oh, okay.
I would also entertain a motion to accept Lori's report.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Okay, we have just a few items that I plan to go over. The first one on the agenda is the Long Island Community Hospital update.
Yep.
Bill, add to this if you need to, but IRS completed our VCAP review, and there were no penalties against Long Island Community Hospital.
That's correct. That's right. They accepted the late filing of the amended 8038. They said that it was inadvertent, and they commended the IDA and the hospital for following up and providing as much information. And it only took us a year and a half to get that out of the IRS.
And we got a letter, which from what I've heard is highly unusual. They actually took the time to type out the letter. Usually you just get past the 90 days and when you don't hear from them. you
That's right.
assume all-
They actually sent us a letter.
Yeah,
This went through 4 or 5 different IRS agents, and finally it wound up on the desk of an attorney who Bruce Serchuk and I had worked with on numerous other transactions. She used to be a tax partner at several different bond firms. So it was we finally were able to talk to somebody who knew what she was doing, and she resolved it.
Thanks, Bill.
yeah, it was a lot of work. Thank you, Bill. The next item on the agenda, unless anybody has any questions on that, the next item on the agenda is Mather Hospital. Included in your packets is a letter that we received from Mather Hospital. As Fred alluded to a moment ago, they are planning on redeeming their 2013 bonds. Bill, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, if you recall, their 2012 bonds were paid off on December 1, 22. Now they're paying off the 13 bonds, so they will have no longer any bonds with the IDA or the LDC. They are done. And I imagine going forward, anything they'll do through Northwell.
Do we need a motion or anything, or it's just? an
Just
FYI?
I think we have a motion just to execute and deliver the termination documents.
So move.
Thank you, Mitch.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. In part of the process this time of year is we have to send the board assessments to the ABO. So everybody filled out their board assessments. We, actually Fred brought everything together, gave us averages. The ABO wanted in a different format this year from years past, but we did what they asked. Took a little back and forth, but we think we got it right this time. And do you want to go over the
Yeah, I'll do-
findings?
Just very quickly, 2 areas. One, there's always a question as to whether or not we're meeting the community needs. Of the definition of what our community is. We are industrial, commercial, housing agency more than local community, and we have formed a local community group to look at some of those smaller issues, and that's, we're waiting to hear from on their report at some point. The only other question was whether or not you all, the board members, are receiving enough education as to what we do. Changing things around the state, changing things in the industry. And so Lisa and I are constantly listening to what additional things you all would like to see or hear. So those are the 2 main things that came out of the assessment. Everything else seemed to be in line with prior years.
And then the next item on the agenda is the job creation numbers. So annually, we go to all the projects, as Fred indicated in the LDC, there's fewer projects, but we ask them a series of questions that we have to enter into Paris, and also that we just get for documentation purposes. And one of them is their job creation numbers. That has been included in your packets. As in years past, Fred and I will go through them, and if there's anyone who we see aren't meeting their agreed upon numbers, we can reach out to them and get more information and report back if there's any that need attention, if that's agreeable with everybody. And let me know if you have any questions about those numbers. They were in your packets. So the last item on the agenda is our next meeting, and we just had a little back and forth about what time we should have it at. So at our last meeting, we talked about sort of splitting between 8 a.m. and noon, and we put this one as 8 a.m. As it stands right now, we have very little on the agenda. So I don't know if you guys want to come in at
This
8.
is what date are we talking
I'm sorry,
about?
April 19th. Close, yeah. And we could,
Yeah, got that one. Okay.
I think everybody present prefers an 8 o'clock meeting.
I do,
Agreed.
I do.
I think the people who are not present don't prefer those, but
Snooze, you lose.
yeah.
There you
I
go.
just-
We can outvote them.
That's
I
right.
think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Just be aware, we might have, it might be very quick. You might be here at 8 and maybe out at.
Okay, well, that's
So we're
fine.
gonna,
Or we can cancel it.
Place
There's
them
no,
down.
Yeah, if there's nothing, we'll just make a May meeting.
Yeah.
so at the moment, we're gonna do April 18th.
No.
April 19th.
Which I think someone already sent that around, because I got it in my
Yes, yes,
calendar.
we
already.
did.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, see?
yeah,
Okay.
okay. Okay, I don't have anything else for the LDC.
Anyone else have anything? If not, a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. We'll now open the meeting of the Town of Brookhaven Industrial Development Agency. Is Wednesday, March 29th. It is 12:45 PM. Following members are present: Anne Marie Scheit, Marty Callahan, Mitch Pelly, and Fred Braun. The quorum is present. Need a motion to accept the minutes of December 7th.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Waiting for you to say
Carries.
something.
Similarly, the meeting of January 11th.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Yay.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Motion carries. I need it. Now I need a motion to go into executive session.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are in executive session.
So we are out of executives. We need a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
All those in
And-
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're out.
I failed to say why we went into executive session, and that was to discuss potential lawsuits and employment issues. And no action was taken while we were in executive session.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
All right. We did the minutes, I believe. Lori, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Earlier today, we had the audit committee met with the external auditors that presented our financial statements and also our investment audit. And that was approved by the audit committee. And I am also submitting that to the board's approval for accepting the audit and also accepting it to be filed in our Paris report, which I'm also presenting.
Motion,
So moved.
second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
The other item I wanted to mention is included in the package is a full copy of the Paris report, all the separate components. There's the annual report, the investment report, the financial statement, and also the procurement reports. All will be filed with the audit and all will be filed timely by March 31st with the ABO. I did want to mention a few other items. The banking, our relation, we have two different banks at the IDA. We are using Flushing and also Hanover. Both of them have sent us separately letters talking about their position and their policies as compared to what happened over at the Silicon Valley Bank. And they both have different strategies than that. They're much more conservative. They have low loan losses, et cetera. So I've included that in your package, your information. Also, I did want to mention that the rates at our accounts have been increasing at 3.75 for our investment accounts. And I did also want to mention that due to the changes in accounting with the lease standards, our lease, we were allocating a piece of the IDA's lease to the LDC. That will have to change, and we have an intermunicipal agreement with the LDC where we are taking that, changing that allocation. So I'm submitting that to the IDA board for approval.
Well, we need a resolution to that
Resolution.
effect.
Okay, so,
I will move it.
Thank you, Fred.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
and lastly, I don't have my script in front of me, but I do want to tell you that oh, thank you. All the payments, all payroll taxes and related withholdings have been paid timely in accordance with federal and state guidelines. All regulatory reports have been filed. Also, I'm going to add at this meeting that all of our pilots Payments have been received timely and dispersed timely, and nothing is outstanding as far as that
Great.
goes.
Good.
Good.
Just two comments on that. I asked Lisa yesterday what the total annual monies are that we collect on the pilots. And it's approaching $20 million at this
Yes.
point.
Wow.
As we
Yes.
know, 75% of that goes out to the school districts.
Nice.
And the other thing, just for the record for this meeting, is that to the extent that our deposits at the banks, and they both do exceed the FDIC limit, we are covered by either liquid collateral or letters of credit from the Federal Home Loan Bank. If there are no questions, I need a resolution to accept Lori's report.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
I think we're over 20 million.
Charlie?
I think it's actually 22 this year. I think it was 21 last.
21
year.
last year and
Yeah.
22,
Okay.
so.
Mm.
A lot of money.
A lot of money that comes in and out.
And there's a lot of efforts
Yeah,
Oh,
that
100% by
everyone
the staff.
helps
I got, yeah.
along to get that money out promptly.
Josh does a lot of organizing with it, a lot, and we have it to the penny.
To the penny, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's important.
It is
It's
important.
not our money.
No,
It's not.
no,
We should
we're
also-
we're the stewards of it.
Right.
We should also mention, you know this better than I do, that there are pending legislation both in the Senate and the House to include pilot payments as far as the 2% tax cap is concerned.
Yeah.
People have been pushing this for a long time.
Yeah.
and It looks like it may go this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be, it doesn't really impact us, but it impacts the taxing jurisdictions and really the residents, because then
They
that,
can't go up as much because they might
well, and the money that we give will
offset.
offset.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's a, I think it makes sense for everybody. And we actually reached out to a bunch of the taxing jurisdictions and asked for letters to be sent. I heard back from some of the schools, so supporting it. And we sent a letter also.
Okay.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is a resolution for a request that we received from the Excel 6 project. Just to remind everybody, that's the extended stay hotel on the South Service Road of the LIE in Ronkonkoma. They have requested modification to their loan, increasing the principal by $2.5 million, bringing it to a total of $22.5 million. They told us that they would be completing hotel renovations and purchasing FF&E. They requested a mortgage reporting tax exemption on the new money. And Bill, did we ever hear back? I know Terrence
Well,
was reaching out.
Terrence Walsh from my firm talked to their attorney yesterday. He is from New Jersey and neither he nor his clients were aware that they could get a sales tax exemption. So they're looking at it and they've asked us to consider it as they're getting back to them. It probably would require, though, a new public hearing and coming back at the April board meeting to give them sales tax. But these are all changes in FF&E that are required under their franchise agreement to keep the place, even though it's only open a few years, Hilton requires it to be updated on a fairly regular basis. So we won't know, we may not know for a couple of days whether or not they want the sales tax or not.
So should we authorize the mortgage recording tax, or we just have to wait?
You could authorize the mortgage recording tax and holding a public hearing notice if they ask for sales tax exemption. And then we go.
Oh, and I'm sorry, one other thing, contingent upon us paying some outstanding invoices to both us and Nixon Peabody.
Oh.
Details.
Yes, they stiffed this last year.
Not this time.
This time.
Which
Well,
hotel?
So to
This is Lee Browning's hotel.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's
yeah.
not. Well, it's not. It's the one that Lee Browning had
Built.
started. Lee never completed it. Lee sold the.
I remember that, the second one.
Yeah, this is the second one. This is the one behind the Courtyard by Marriott. And Lee sold both of those to XL. And for anybody who doesn't know, Lee Browning passed away at the end of December.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice
Didn't
man.
know, but
yeah.
Nice man.
Very,
Very nice. man.
very sudden. Apparently, I guess he had some form of cancer. Almost nobody outside his immediate family knew. And none of us even knew he passed away, including his attorneys, until sometime in February.
Oh.
wow.
So we're gonna.
Yeah,
Get our money
authorize
first.
we're gonna authorize this pending payment of the
Payment.
invoice.
And the-
Right, the mortgage
Payment
reporting
fee,
tax, and if they do need a sales tax, you're authorizing that I hold the public
Public
hearing.
hearing, But both of those
They gotta
are
pay us.
pending upon
Correct.
Then
their
pay.
payment of the outstanding invoices to us and Nixon.
All right,
I move that.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a resolution to have our applications and our authorizing, or really should just be any of our resolutions, but usually it's the authorizing resolution, expire if there is no action taken. So what we've found is that sometimes we have someone who come to us, put in an application, and then they just go dormant, and a year later, they're still nothing's happening. So what I'm suggesting is that an application, maybe after a year, that it needs to be
Refiled.
refiled, and I
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean, I guess the way I would say it, Lisa, if you've accepted an application and you've not adopted an authorizing resolution within a year, that application is considered dormant and needs to be refiled.
Or
And
could
then,
we say held a public hearing, because,
excuse me?
or took some action, maybe not the final authorizing resolution, could it be the public hearing?
Whatever you want. But, but even if you did a public hearing and then they sit on it, don't do anything, it becomes.
Yeah. If I may, I would suggest that if the closing doesn't occur, they need to come back to the board in advance of the 1-year expiration and ask for an extension, explain why. And if they don't give you a valid reason or they neglect to come to you, then it expires and they have to start from scratch.
So Howard, here's a scenario. Okay, you accept an application in March of this year. By the following March, we adopt a public hearing, it's still good. I mean, we go to have a public hearing, adopt the authorizing resolution. Then how long under that scenario after the authorizing resolution to close? A year or 6 months? What do you recommend?
I look at it slightly differently. I look at that, even if you did a public hearing at 10 months, that within the 1 year from when we first accepted the application, they should send us a letter and say, our 1 year's coming up. We appreciate if you extend it. Here's the reasons why we've done a public hearing. Here's when we anticipate closing. Could you please extend to 6 months or 9 months or whatever they request?
But what if if within the year we have adopted an authorizing resolution?
Then I still think they need to close with us or ask us for a further extension.
They need to close within, I'm trying to get the fact. So they
Yeah.
need to close within 1 year of
Acceptance.
of the original application.
That's what
Guys,
I
that's
think.
tough.
Yeah, or they can ask us for an
Or an
extension.
extension, okay, yeah.
And give us an
unless the a-
explanation.
Yeah, unless the application is updated and the idea is to make an extension.
Guys,
I'm
the
just trying to
second,
make sure we're framing the
the
resolution.
second part of my concern was when we have someone who does an authorizing resolution and then they go dormant, those I think should expire also. And I think the
Like, those should expire probably
Lisa,
within 6
I'm
months.
sorry, Bill. I'm sorry.
I said, again, till we get to with an authorizing resolution and they don't close, then the authorizing resolution should probably expire after 6 months unless extended.
I would respectfully suggest that I would still stick with the 1 year period. And if they, when we do the authorizing resolution, if they say, gee, we need some additional time, in the authorizing resolution, we can add a paragraph that says this exact expiration extends, extended out further for another 6 months. So the burden's on them to keep moving ahead or come to us and ask us for the extension.
But guys, I think part of the reason of if the application expires is that then it gives the board the opportunity to decide if that's still a project that they want to do and also gets us fresh information. So I think I would like to leave it so that you don't write a letter and we push it down the road. Your application has expired. If you haven't taken any action within a year, then you shouldn't have put your application in when you did. You should have waited till you were actually ready. And that gives this board opportunity to look at fresh numbers, fresh information, see what's changed. So that was kind of my logic with it.
My concern is somebody will game the system and that they will ask you for a public hearing or they ask you for a resolution and they have no intention of moving ahead quickly and they're going to sit on it.
But the resolution is going to expire
Okay.
after 6 months. So yes, they may end up with a year and a half in that scenario, but then the resolution expires. And when the resolution expires, then they have to start all over.
Okay,
Any,
And typically, even in that scenario, if someone's out 6 months, we always make, our policy was, hey, this is your cost, this is what you're asked for. Is there any updates that the board should look at before we do the public hearing?
and if somebody has an application and it expires, when they reapply, are we taking another application fee?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
All right, I-
Yes.
Yeah.
Fred, so how are we wording this now? Just so everybody's clear.
What I was envisioning, and chime in if you disagree, is that the applications expire after 1 year from acceptance. So whatever the date was,
Unless
they,
they've closed. They have not
Unless-
closed within 1 year.
right, if they've closed, that's fine. And the resolutions have a 6-month window that they have to, so if you get your application in and then 6 months later you have the resolution, but 6 months from there, your resolution goes.
Authorizing resolution goes away.
So
Goes
they
away.
expire unless they've had a authorizing resolution. And then you have an initial
6 months.
from the date of the resolution.
Right.
That's the
So that makes sense.
So it's 12
Okay.
plus 6,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Fine.
All right, let's-
And the only.
and maximum.
Right, correct.
Maximum. And the only other thing that, we have a couple of applications that are past that point, so I think what I should do is just send them a letter and say, hey, the policy's changing. Move,
Should I
or
get
it's
up the clock?
expired,
Right.
yeah, and maybe I'll get
Should
them.
I get-
We'll write that into the resolution.
Well, I mean, like that one out, huh?
Okay. That they have 60 days to proceed, or their application is expired.
And Josh, you'll get that in the minutes, correct? Thank you.
Well, we need a motion and
Yeah,
a
we need a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second,
I'm sorry, who was the first?
I did.
Mitch.
Mitch.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is, I feel like we may have done this before, but I couldn't find it, so I figured we should just discuss it again. Authorizing me in concert with our
You
chairman,
did it.
councils, I think we did, but to default projects when there's something that's sensitive. Like we've had situations where they're non-responsive with their insurance, which is, according to our documents, an immediate default. But I feel a little bit like I really should get you guys involved, and then we're waiting a month for a meeting. So
I thought we did this too. We said, we leave it up to your
Sounds right.
discretion.
Yeah, we did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we said,
I thought so, but
Yeah,
then I
you're
couldn't find
delegating
it.
the authority to the CEO to declare vendor.
do it
policy.
again. Judge.
Thank you.
There you go, there's the motion.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item, we already did the changes to the intermunicipal agreement. Thank you, Lori. The next item on the agenda is HSRE EB Holtzville. They requested that we execute a consolidated mortgage. They're not requesting any new benefits. So it's just a motion to allow us to
Got no mortgage.
execute the mortgage.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
The next item is HSRE EB Mount Sinai. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the.
These are all the Bristols?
Bristol facility on the North Service Road of the LIE, right down the street
Yep.
here. And the HSRE EB Mount Sinai is the Bristol facility in Mount Sinai. And this request is authorization to extend the maturity date of their loan to January 9th of 2024. They're not borrowing any additional funds and they're not requesting any additional benefits.
Motion,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Didn't they?
We did it once before.
Yes,
For a month or two. I think that's Wells Fargo. I think the other one is Synovus Bank, which is headquartered down in Georgia, I think.
No, I had a different question. Didn't they come to us recently for another project? They came
Yes.
into the
Yes.
office?
yes.
Match up.
Yeah, and then come, they,
No, they put in their application and now the
They
year
came with
starts.
dog and pony show. They
Yeah,
came
yes.
here with, right?
Yeah, you
And-
just accepted the application.
Okay, so that could be one down the road where, yeah, they wanted something in it that we, you know,
Yeah.
weren't interested in giving away the house. Okay.
The next item on the agenda is an update on our IT. This, we just need to ratify the expenses that,
Oh,
go ahead.
give Lisa and staff authorization to spend up to $35,000 for capital equipment to support our internal IT function and along with the service contracts that go along with those purchases.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you again.
The next resolution is Macedo Construction. And Howard, do you want to outline this?
This is, we're seeking your approval for Lisa to execute a settlement agreement with Macedo Construction to resolve outstanding issues over their termination and recapture benefits.
I'll move it. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you once again.
Thank you. You want to handle the board assessments?
Yeah, similar to what I said in the LDC meeting, the opinions of the 7 board members pretty much reflect prior years with the 2
Give you that guy.
standout issues, one being whether or not we're servicing the community the way we should, and whether or not everybody's receiving the education that they should or would like to receive. So happy to talk about those as we go forward, but they have to file that as part of the Paris report. I just want to bring that to everybody's attention.
And it has been sent to the ABO. Just an FYI, we received our 2023 bond allocation. We received just over $9.7 million. So maybe there'll be a need for it. As of right now, we don't have any projects requesting it, but we were, it was allocated to us.
How much did we have last year?
It's in and around
Around
that,
the same?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I think we only have one bond still outstanding, right?
In the IDA, I don't think we have any.
That last one we paid off.
Yeah, I think everybody's
Okay.
done.
It's done.
That's what happens when bank rates are as low as they were.
Yes,
Yeah.
right, so we might end up with some more bond projects coming out. if
Okay.
Rates continue. We received a request from Tate's Bake Shop. It came to our attention that they were putting in a new parking lot and drainage.
Drive-bys to work.
What was that?
Drive-
Yeah, I drive by their facility on my way in sometimes, so. So it really is, at this point, the project is done. It's already built, but they needed to give us insurance. And we told them really what they were supposed to do was request your permission to do this. So it was a request and oops, sorry, we missed that we were supposed to request. So I just asked that you approve it, even though.
So move.
Second,
Thank
new
you.
parking lot? Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah.
Tell you what, smells good.
Parking lot or the cookies or both?
No, the parking lot didn't.
Mitchell was a company in Hot Dog that fragrances all the time. It
Yeah.
permeated
The
the entire
perfume
park.
Estee Lauder.
Yeah.
Worldwide.
No, no, it was some. food
Some perfume
thing.
company in
Yeah.
Hot
Yeah,
Dog.
yeah, in the park.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tate smells better than any perfume. In my opinion.
Tates are everywhere.
Yeah. The next item on the agenda is just an FYI. I expect that we're going to be holding a public hearing for the R² Patchogue project. This is a project planned in the East Patchogue redevelopment area, overlay area. Yeah, this is the Reckler project. You accepted the application a while ago. This was the Camoin study. I just gave it to you in advance because it's a lot to absorb, and we will, I think, hold the public hearing pretty soon. Okay,
You have the authorization to hold that hearing?
I think you guys did that already, but if you want to, go ahead.
Anybody remember? All right, we'll do it. I'll put it in. You're gonna do it? Okay.
Move authorization to hold a public hearing on the R².
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We usually have you guys do that when you accept the application that way. And so what would happen if I held a public hearing without their authorization?
Without the board's authorization. We have a standard resolution from years ago that give you that authority with the consent of the chair, so theoretically, you can say that.
There you go.
Okay, good. So we're covered.
So a phone call.
You're still covered.
By the way, I'm doing that.
Whether I can find that one or not, it dates back to this guy named Alosio, was kind of.
That was my first time here. back then.
A year or two.
Who was here the second time, Mitch?
When?
Was Lisa here the second time through here?
Or is this the second?
This
or
is the
your
second
third?
time.
Oh, that's your
Okay.
third, I
This is
think.
my second time.
Probably.
That was my second
Okay.
time. Okay.
New York State EDC sponsorship. Their Cooperstown conference is coming up May 24th through the 26th. In years past, we have sponsored at the diamond level, which is a $5,000 sponsorship.
I'd say
I think that's appropriate.
stick to what we have. Yeah.
Reza?
What?
Yeah. we
So
need it.
moved.
So moved.
No more.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. If anyone is interested in going to that conference, let us know, although be aware that the hotel, the Otisanga where it's actually at is already booked. It was booked like 15 minutes after they opened
Fred,
the,
you going?
Yeah.
I'll let you know, Lisa, by next week. Is that
okay,
okay?
yeah, it'd be, you could be like across the street or down the block, or maybe
I
a
could
car.
be in Cortland for all that matter. Doesn't matter.
Okay. The next, thank you, everybody. The next
Am I all
item on the
gone?
agenda is LIBDC. In years past, we have sponsored a luncheon, typically in June, where dates to be determined, but that's a $5,000 sponsorship. So,
I'll move that.
Fred, do I need to recuse myself on that one? Since I'm an officer of LIBDC, I'm just
Yeah.
asking the question.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's it.
okay, so then we don't have we can't vote on it.
Tell, what's your face? Yeah, that we will probably do it. We're gonna do it, but we need to authorize it.
The next one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, and then we'll hold the conference sponsorship also, but just so you know, that again is a $5,000 sponsorship. And from what I'm hearing, the dates are in flux, but it looks like the beginning of October
Right. For
Okay.
Montauk.
for Montauk,
for me.
yes. Okay, so we will hold that
Are we
for,
wound up in Montauk?
It looks that way.
yes, it looks like
Yeah.
it's in Montauk.
Getting
yeah.
close.
Yeah, it's fun, right, Annette?
Yeah. Well, I had to leave. remember?
All right, but you still showed. Could have been a no-show.
So the next item on the agenda is the job creation numbers. As a part of Paris is that we ask them to provide a whole bunch of information, including their job creation numbers. We give that to you as a standalone, separate for you to review. In years past, what you've had Fred and I do is go through all of them. Anyone who is below, I think we use an 85% threshold
Might be a little lower.
of what, in and around that threshold of what they told us they would do. We asked them to provide an explanation as to why they did not meet their job creation numbers. And we bring you a report on any of them that are problematic. And if we need to pursue them, obviously we'll bring them to the board to get your input into that. So that was included just for your review. Fred and I will work on culling through the ones that we need more information on and getting responses from those projects.
Last couple of years, we took COVID into account.
Yeah, you have to.
One of the things that I mentioned to Mitch earlier,
Yeah.
but I've noticed in this time, and I think for the past, I don't know, 5-7 years at least, we have told applicants to be much more realistic as to the jobs they're gonna create. Don't blow it up, as Lisa said before, for 1,000, you're gonna create 500. Be realistic, and I think those reports show it. People were very much more conservative than they were in the past, as they should be.
I don't have anything else. The next meeting is April 19th at 8 o'clock in the morning. As it stands right now, we have very little business, but we still have a couple of weeks. So we'll see.
I have an important report for Bill. And I can't remember why for grant proposal I was just working on, for some reason I had to look up rankings of New York State school districts. And I learned with interest that Pittsford, New York's school district is ranked in the top 10. So congratulations, Bill.
Thank you. And both of my kids graduated from Pittsford High School, so they are incredibly great schools. So,
There you go.
Is there any other business to be brought before this august body? Hearing none, motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All those in
Hi, everybody.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye, thank you, everyone.